My name is Tony Vu. I'm the treasurer for Miami-Dade County Public Schools, fourth largest school district in the country, about 350,000 students. And from the finance side, just to give you a scale, it's about $5 billion in budget. What you see in front of you on the screen is really what we do here in Treasury. It's built off the policies. It's not as important. It just gives you an idea of what we handle. Investments, debt. You see the cash management, and we break it up between the depositories and the disbursements. Be happy to share this with everyone. After the meeting, but we'll dive right into my presentation. So here, give you a second to look at it. It might look familiar, and if it doesn't, I'll let you look at the next one. A little bit more helpful. We now have north is north, south is south, but it's not centered on the United States like it normally is. And you probably figured out now it's a map of the world. I believe this is exactly centered on Auckland, New Zealand. And it just changes your perspective of the world from this perspective. And I bring this up because this is what I'm going to do too. I'm sort of going to just change the perspective a little bit, how we look at budget. That's what we're looking at, and trying to look at finances and financial functions overall. So we're going to switch from this map of the world to this map of how I see financial functions overall. And this is biased, and it's not to scale. When I say not to scale, it isn't based on number of people or the actual dollars going through or being managed by these areas. It's just a flow chart. And you can see it's what you normally call a spaghetti chart, right? And it's a simplified version of what happens in finance, right? But I think it's a little bit still a little bit complex. Like I said, the perspective is from a treasury perspective, and I'm trying to look at liquidity management here. But it made me ask a bunch of other questions and try to simplify this model even further. And I think I've come up with something, and this is the government fiscal cycles model. This is what I'm going to try to find evidence for, I guess, in my dissertation. My belief is that all that spaghetti chart to the left there is really just 4 different activities that are repeated over and over and over and over again within the finance area. All right. So let's see what it looks like. I have the title there in the beginning because everything starts with a budget, right? And that's what we've been talking about. And this is from the city of Avondale. Thank you for providing this. But it's a great jumping off point to the rest of the cycle. Things start with a budget. And really the 2 big line items there is the capital and the operating side. I think almost everyone does this. You'll also notice the 2 other areas, debt service and contingency. And we can touch upon those too. All right. So once again, start with the budget. And you'll see it replicated here right in the middle. And we split it up between the operating and the capital. And you see this repeat in the cycle, right? This cycle really is just 4 things: budgeting, acquiring, sort of collect and disperse the money, and then you account for it all, right? It's the beauty of accounting. It collects all this information, puts it into beautiful reports to produce every single year. As I said, we started with the budget, and when you split it up between the operating and capital, you get these 2 different cycles. And I'll start with the operating side. There's 2 things on the operating side you do. You can either acquire people to do the work for you, or you acquire goods and services to help you support the work that you're doing within your governments. If it's people, you go through this cycle with HR and payroll, right? You budget for them, you hire them, you pay them through payroll, and then once again, flows right through the accounting system. That goes right back into the budgeting system, for you to build your budget for the next year. On the goods and services side, you go through a procurement or purchasing process. You pay them through AP, and then once again, it goes through the accounting system. On the capital side, everyone needs to make a decision, right? Should we pay for this as we go, with money we have or that we've collected and saved up for, or do we issue long-term debt? If you do a pay-go, it looks pretty much like the goods and services side, except you go through a facilities acquisition process where you look at the design and build, phase of putting really buildings together. But if you go through debt, you have to go through an additional cycle, this long-term debt cycle. where you take the budget, you go out and acquire dollars, right? You're really acquiring future cash flows and moving them to the present. There's a cost to that. It's called interest. But then the collection and disbursement looks pretty much the same. And we flow it all through the accounting system for our financial reporting. All right. The last one I didn't cover there was this short-term debt. And that's really driven by the budget, right? And also your particular positions or situations. Here at the district, we will collect upwards of $2 billion in the next couple of months. Before that, we're running short on cash, and so we need to borrow short term. We issued TANs earlier this quarter, and we'll repay them right in February because we just needed the money for that short time period. But it goes through the same cycle. We take the budget. We need to go acquire short-term debt this time and move money just from a couple of months from the future to the present. Same thing, collect it and disperse it as needed through the AP system or the payroll system in this case. Account for it all and report it all in the systems. So that's my model. Like I said, I took that big spaghetti chart and broke it down to these fiscal cycles times 7. And hopefully, like I said, I can find evidence for this during my dissertation. Why do we do this? And this is where this is why I think we do this. A lot of times we come in and we're just reacting to events. I'm trying to find some patterns or even some structures. These systems, patterns and structures can help us predict and/or design different systems. This sort of, I think, folds in what we're trying to do here. We're trying to rethink the budgeting model, right? And the last one, I hope that I'm helping you reframe the finance or the financial management function overall. These mental models, or at least this mental model that I'm introducing, will help you see things in a different way, right? And to close, I just want to show you one other model. This is a model of the solar system. You see, the planets orbiting. This is what we normally think of when we think of the solar system. And it sort of reminds me of the cycle that I put together, and 8 planets, not 7 cycles, but they're all going around. But in reality, the mental model we should be having looks more like this. The sun is zooming through space at millions of miles per hour, and you can see this. This is what actually what the paths of the planets look like. It isn't this perfect little circle or oval, what do you want to call it, or ellipse, I guess. Going around the sun. Is this spiral because it's a dynamic system, right? That's moving through space, and so is the financial management system. We're moving from year to year in this case, but we're zipping along year to year, and it's a dynamic system. So I hope that helps you see finance in a little bit different way, and hopefully it'll help us think through this process as we try to rethink and reframe budgeting.